right, good evening, everyone. I'm just going to call our budget work session to order. We do also tonight have a special meeting, an executive session that's, we're looking to have it at 6:45. If this runs a little bit late, so be it. We'll start the executive session as soon as we're done with the budget discussion. Unless someone has something to say, I was going to refer to, Finance Director was able to give us kind of a summary of what is left to take care of as far as the budget is concerned. I was just going to kind of go off the list. We did get an email. So you did get an email, let's see, it looks like yesterday at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. So you can refer to that. But the list of items still open for the council is, the number one is the Board of Education, the bottom line budget. We do have a pending reduction of $201,947, which, as you can see, brings the budget down to $45 million and change, or a 5.12% increase. Is there any comments or discussion on the Board of Education budget or questions?
Are we going to get
remaining?
new pages for
Pardon me?
the Board of Ed change?
I'm sorry, what?
Or do you think we'll get new pages for the Board of Ed change?
For our budget book,
Yeah.
can we get,
When the town council finalizes the budget, any amendments that were made in the process would be made in the budget book, the town council's proposed budget book, which would be published after this.
Okay.
Yeah.
all right. So is there any other questions or comments? I mean, I'm, certainly,
On the pages.
I think we're in order, obviously we want to reduce the budget by $201,947. The finance director provided us the new bottom line number. If there's no questions or comments, does someone want to make a motion?
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
Okay, I move that we approve the Board of Education budget for FY '25 for the total of $45,277,488.
Second.
Motion and second. Any follow-up questions or comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed?
Aye. Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
You can't vote twice. This
That was
isn't
Dan's fault.
Bridgeport. Don't worry, it's okay. It'll smooth out here.
Blame it on the old guy.
All right, but you, town clerk, you got the vote.
That was, I am 100% in favor.
Oh, you made the motion, or you seconded, so I'm
Right,
good.
right.
Dan, how did you vote?
Aye.
Yes, so it's unanimous.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
Unanimous.
Just wanted to
Nope,
make sure.
thank you for clarifying.
Sorry about that.
You.
So if we go to section 10, page 8, the next on is the unclassified. I know we talked a little bit about this last week. There was just some questions about the 50,000, and would that do we need to leave the 50,000? My thoughts. I know that we do have a couple studies that we're looking to do, something in addition to what we've been doing in the past. Obviously, we have how many contract negotiations? Union contract?
Two.
I guess any comments, questions? What do people feel like doing?
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
I would like to just see it stay at 50,000.
Okay. Any other?
I agree with that.
I agree with that also.
Okay.
Do we need a motion?
We would probably need a motion if we want to.
Mr. Chair?
Today. Yes.
Motion to fund Department 830 unclassified in the amount of $50,000.
Second that motion.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any other comments or questions? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries, and I believe we just go now to the next page, section 10, page 9 for Department 840. And this is the transfers out. And this touches upon several different departments. And this is essentially, we transfer out money to these different line items to help fund the budget. Is there no changes from the administration side? No Changes to what we talked about last week?
No, it's as proposed last week. There's a small increase to the senior center, which I believe we discussed when we had the
Yep.
senior center in here. And the biggest part of this increase is the town capital, the CIP.
We're making a bigger contribution from the general fund to the capital.
From tax, from the mill rate, yes, mill rate to the general fund, yes,
Okay.
correct. Yes.
Yeah, general fund probably wasn't the best way to say that.
Well, because we appropriate additional
Yeah.
dollars from the general fund, yeah.
Okay. All right, any comments or questions? All right, anyone? Now, this would, item 3 and 4, this actually, and 5, actually, this particular
Correct.
page covers all 3 of those. Anyone care to make a motion? Comment, question? Yes.
Do we make a motion now, or do we wait to do everything under 840?
This is 840.
Yes, I know.
So the bottom line, if, as proposed right now,
Is the 1.2.
1,244,000, excuse me, 1,244,427.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Motion to accept the Department 840 interfund transfers out in the amount of $1,244,427.
Second that motion.
All right, motion and a second. Any comments or questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. Now we go to section 12, page 10. And this is the recreation fund contribution. Is that the right way to say it?
Well, it's the recreation fund revenue side of the budget, of the recreation budget,
Yeah.
but the piece that was missing was the now approved general fund contribution to this revenue.
Okay.
So the 43.5 is now in there, so the revenue budget for recreation is 226,000 in total.
So now we just
Just,
a
yeah,
motion for that bottom line
Correct.
number now.
correct.
All right, anyone?
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
I'd like to make a motion to accept the recreation fund revenue in the amount of $226,000.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any comments or questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. If we can turn to section 12, page 24. And that's the library side of the library fund revenue side.
Same concept. The revenue budget for the library includes the 665,427 that was just approved from the general fund. So the
Okay.
bottom line revenue budget for the library is 804,981.
Okay. All right, any comments or questions? All right, does anyone care to make a motion then?
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
Motion to approve library fund revenue budget in the amount of $804,981.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any other questions or comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? That motion carries. If we turn to page 28 in the same section, we're now up to Senior Citizens Transportation Fund.
Same concept. This is now the total amount for the senior center and transportation fund includes 35,000 from the general fund for a total of $63,156.
All right, anyone?
Mr.
Chair,
Go ahead, Councilman Hurley. I heard you first.
I'd like to make a motion for, I don't know what department this is.
Yes,
Senior
Oh,
center
Senior
transportation.
Citizens, Transportation Fund of 631,
63.
$63,156.
Second.
All
right.
Glasses.
that's all right. All right, well, motion and a second. Any other comments or questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? That item carries. If we go to item number 7 is the CIP for the town and the Board of Education. We're going back, section 12, page 1, 2, 5. Oops. let's see. So these are the expenditure sides of both of those.
Right, and on these, you have to approve both expenditure and the revenue that was just approved from the general fund will offset partially some of these expenditures, depending on what level you want to set these at.
All right, so any comments or questions regarding capital? I know we had talked a little bit about some of the funding. We talked about last week ARPA, any ARPA funds available. Well, I guess what started it was we were talking about adding a second police car into the capital, and it got us into talking about ARPA. Would there be any funds available? If you don't mind, town manager, just giving an update on kind of where we are with your research on that.
Sure, yeah, I think you had that ARPA
Yep.
one-pager. And so, again, I think when we heard from the police side, look at the top of the list for the fire department, the radios are a concern and an issue in that I recall correctly, the number was north of 8, maybe 850, I think, is to do an adequate job and do it thoroughly to get what they need. So you have 500 in there. I think we were going to recommend giving up the apparatus, Class A apparatus, and move the 117 down to that line item. Was also thinking about moving the balance on the window, firehouse window replacement. That's a balance, the window's already done. So you could move that in there. But if you're looking for a car, you might want to take that 41,000 on the windows now, because we could always look at the gap for radios down the road in terms of when we get this done. And you could match, what I think we're also going to recommend was the reallocation of what was a placeholder for the Housing Authority, 25. You could match the 25 with the 41. You could essentially get 66 and get it enough to get your vehicle, the second vehicle. You could do it, that's one way to do it. You could do it that way.
So just in that scenario, sorry. So in that scenario, we're not necessarily adding to the budget. We're actually using ARPA funds in that scenario to purchase a second vehicle and leaving the one in the budget itself.
Correct.
Okay.
And it's okay to use ARPA funds for a vehicle?
I mean, we originally targeted, the money for the fire truck.
Oh, true.
So, I mean, really, this is the same concept. It's delaying the inevitable. You're going to have to move money from fund balance or budget something somewhere else down the road for potentially the radio project, because there's not enough sitting here for it at this point. You're right. It will not change the budget from what's proposed right now for CIP or the revenue side offsets to that at this point. It'll just be simply using other funds to purchase the vehicle. And I do believe, and again, we did a truck. It was approved,
Yep.
essentially. And I don't see any reason why this wouldn't be.
And can I just ask with the radio, how long before we're looking to install or engage with a contractor with the radio system?
Well, that likely could be done if later this year, the council wants to act on that item to obligate it, because again, that we need to do that by December of this year for all of the funds. So we could do that this spring, this summer, and they could begin to do the specs of putting together the specs, and whether they go off a state contract or put together actual spec and put it out on the street. They could, begin that process. I just don't know if there's any lead time with component parts or whatever the issue may be, but I can't imagine it's going to be that far out. So,
Okay.
And
do we know, is this like something that, you installed a new radio system, it's like, all at once, or is there like a phasing in of equipment that needs to happen?
Good question.
If you don't know,
I don't know. I get the impression that this might be one of, that they designed to do all at the same time.
Okay. All right. All right. Any other questions or comments?
I do. Oh,
Go ahead. You're going to ask the same question.
I'm not a fan of pulling money from the fire department for the police department. That just doesn't seem it seems counterintuitive to me. Two questions. The $300,000 for the gas tank system.
Yes.
When is that project happening? I mean,
Soon.
soon.
Yeah, that's one of those, we're going to be going through all the lists, and that is the other one that we're going to be recommend that it be allocated, go to a public hearing, do that, so we can get that underway, because the clock is ticking in terms of getting those tanks out of the ground and getting a new system.
And those tanks can be moved if the facility moves.
Exactly.
Okay.
They will be, yeah.
My second area is this $150,000 for White Oak. What is that $150,000 for?
That is for what we believe will be a requirement for a traffic signal. And
Okay.
it may or may not.
Well, what's the
So-
timing on that?
Well, the timing, I'm uncertain on the timing. I don't know when that threshold question of whether it's a requirement or not is going to come up, but likely sometime in 2025, because we're going through the environmental remediation and clean out now. Once that through and ownership transfers, then they'll be in earnest in terms of construction development. So that would optimistically happen end of this year, and then full on in 2025. That then I think they'll have a determination of whether or not they need a traffic signal or not. And so it would be obligated and then spent before the December of 2026 in terms of the project. My issue, and I discussed this with Rob, is that I don't want to obligate something that may or may not be a requirement. So I think the 150 is in play, and I think what council can consider is, whether it's a car and or something else, or, maybe 150 takes out, one of the other items on CIP, like a truck or a portion of the truck, and then we wait and see and flip this and put the traffic light into a CIP for 25 or 26 and see if it's necessary.
You just read my mind. Okay. Yeah.
Well, could we buy the car with the 150 and the balance that would be left after purchasing the car be moved to the radios?
Yes, you could do that.
Help out there, because the car is going to somewhere between 90 and down. So you're
65.
60.
Yeah.
65.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of money there that could help balance out the radio part.
Yeah.
Then we
I-
could
I-
deal with the radio, with the traffic light if it comes to fruition next spring, next year.
This is probably a discussion for another time. But West Main Street's a state road. Would we still be on the hook for the traffic light?
Yeah.
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 Maybe.
I haven't really, it only came up recently, so I haven't really had a chance to
Okay.
dive into it. But
Okay.
it's not a firm requirement. So it's one of those, it's going to be evaluated. It may or may not be a requirement that we put one in.
Okay.
And so and obviously this is something that's been known, and that's why it was allocated. But again, I don't want to take the position where, because we don't know the answer. We don't know the answer in terms of do we allocate, and we can't then, when we miss, we're into 2025, and we say, well, we've allocated 150,000. Will they allocate, or do you have to give it back $150,000? And that's the last thing we want to do.
Yeah. Yeah. That's why I'm thinking a car and the rest goes towards the radios or towards one of the roadways trucks. Yeah.
Here's my thoughts. And I hope I say this correctly. What I would do or suggest is we take the six-wheel dump truck non-CDL, put it in ARPA under the 150, and we'd probably have to take, a portion of the 25,000 for the housing authority, or make that number work, to get closer to the 178,690. Take the 150 from the infrastructure improvements for White Oak and put that in the capital. And that way, because I think there's too many unknowns with the traffic light. I would hate to, like the town manager said, I don't want to allocate for it, and if we don't ever use it, we lose the $150,000, which makes no sense. So I would rather make sure we use the 150, and even if the traffic light sits in CIP, and I don't know if we need to fund it for 25 or if we need to fund it in 26, but, put that in the 25 capital. If we don't end up needing it, obviously there's a whole list of other capital projects that we could probably spend 150,000 on. So, that would probably be my recommendation, is move the non-CDL dump truck to the ARPA. Once that's funded, whatever's left can go back into the radio system replacement. We're already, we'll probably be somewhere near 650,000 in that. Once everything's added up for the radios, and then move the traffic light over to here. I know it's complicated.
Is that more shuffling that needs to be done?
I don't know. It's
No.
not in my mind, but
No comment.
Okay, Mr. Chair, so- and the
Yeah.
police car would come from,
well, that's and that's maybe what we do is, if we move the 150 over, we use a portion of that for the police car and leave the rest for the traffic light. And then if the traffic light, we have to do a second funding in 26, then we do it. I mean, at that point, it would be a $60,000 or $70,000 cost as opposed to, the entire 150. But I don't know. I think that's, maybe some
Mr. Chairman,
discussion
are
needs to happen.
are we under a particular time where the ARPA funds have to be spent?
Yes.
December 26th.
End of 2026.
The end of 26?
But they have to be firmly obligated by December 31st of '24.
So by the end of this
Okay.
year, we have to tell them what we're going to spend it on, and then we have to spend it by the end of 2026. Correct? That's the right way. to
Right.
say it.
Technically, in that particular case, I like what you said, but I also like the idea of buying the car and putting the rest towards the radios, and we'll
Okay.
be able to close out the radios.
I mean, the ARPA conversation could be had at a later point.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay.
If this council at this point wants to take the 178 out of CIP that's currently budgeted in CIP and say, okay, spend that instead out of ARPA, then we would reallocate whatever dollars are necessary, probably taking that 150 as part of the 178 and nickel and diming the other accounts to get
Yeah.
the remaining 28 per se to buy the truck. Now, for budgetary purposes, that reduces the CIP budget by 178,690. So if,
Yeah.
again, you wanted to budget for a police car here, do it there because you just reduced it by 178,000. And to the point of this 150,000, if or when it's needed, budget it in CIP going forward in 26, not in 25.
Right.
Therefore, you essentially reduce the CIP budget from 178,690 by
Yeah.
reducing 178,690 and adding 64
Whatever
for a
the
car.
price of a car.
So you're reducing it by about 114,000. And then the ARPA discussion could be had at a later point. Like I said, I have to complete the report for the period ended March 31st next month. So I'll have everything lined up with the federal report. And then we can discuss subsequent to the report being filed. All right, let's finalize everything for all these projects and get it done by December 31st.
Now, not to complicate this, but if we move the dump truck and decide we're going to use ARPA funds, it's a 12 to 18 month lead time before we actually get the truck. So does that cause any concerns if for some reason we don't get the truck till after 2026?
Well, remember, though, that the CIP budget begins July 1st. If you
Okay.
instruct us to say, okay, get the truck out of ARPA instead, we can order it tomorrow.
Correct. And that,
There's no, I can do it
and
tomorrow.
pay for it. I guess the
Well-
question is,
Again, it's the obligation.
yeah.
So if it's 18, at the longest duration, 18 months from now, what's that, September of 25?
Yeah.
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 You're still a year and, 3
I
months
guess
ahead of
that would
paying
be
it
a long
off.
time not to, they'd
Yeah,
have to
so
really delay.
again, the requirement for the budget that we're voting on is I really can't do anything with these dollars until July 1st. ARPA, I can do it anytime.
Yeah.
So we can order,
All
get it
right,
done,
so seeing that I took us in a completely different direction. I mean, I actually wasn't looking to reduce the capital bottom line, to be honest. That wasn't my intent, but I any comments for anyone now that I've
Well-
thrown out 80 different numbers?
I think the lead time was 12 to 18 months on the CDL truck.
Yeah.
I think it's shorter on the
Oh, that's true. It was
Yeah.
on the bigger truck, the lead time
Yeah.
was longer.
Okay.
Yeah, this one it can go quicker.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's,
Well, what's
that's
everyone-
a side benefit to what we're doing is reducing the capital budget.
Well, I mean,
Well,
I'm in
go ahead.
favor of that.
So go ahead.
Yeah.
Councilwoman Tompkins, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I'm in favor of using the 178,690 and putting ARPA funds for that. And the other, the 150, what are we doing with it? We're buying another police vehicle?
Well, I imagine that 150 in that scenario may go towards purchasing the truck or portion.
Essentially, the spreadsheet you have in front of you for ARPA, the 150 would be recategorized to roadways purchase of a six-wheeler truck.
And then
We'd
you-
nickel and dime another 28 grand somewhere from the other accounts that are still there, and
Okay.
then make, essentially eliminate the line item that says infrastructure improvements, White Oak. Then, again, going forward for 26 CIP, we may come back to you if we have more information that says, hey,
We need
yeah,
a
we do need a
traffic
street light, and oh, yeah, by the way, we own it.
Yeah.
Not the state. We only own 4 streetlights in the whole town. This one out here is not one of them.
Okay.
So, I don't think.
And then
Maybe it is.
and
West
then
Main.
Instead of reducing capital.
No, it's not. No, it's not.
178, we would be reducing it
114.
114. Because we'd be purchasing.
If you go, and then the second step to that is if you wanted to add a police car to that at 64, whatever, right.
I'm in favor of that.
Right, so we'd reduce by the 178 and then put in
Yep.
the 64, so it comes to 114,000 in terms of reduction.
Now, I know the police chief asked for 3 originally. Does he have a priority as to what 1 and 2 would be if we did add another car?
Yeah, so,
Okay.
so it was frontline car, admin car, canine car. So you
Okay.
wouldn't get 2 frontline cars, you'd be getting an admin car.
Okay.
That would be your second one.
That was his third option. He won't.
Yeah.
No, I think the K9 was first, wasn't it?
I mean, is the price similar for all
it-
3?
it-
Does it matter? Like,
Three would be considered, 2 out of the 3 would be considered frontline. But if he's only getting 2 out of the 3 requests, if you're adding 1 back, it's going to be a frontline vehicle and an admin car.
that was his preference.
That's his
in that
Are
scenario.
they both similarly priced?
Yeah, I think.
Like if we leave
Roughly, I
64,000
think
for the second
Yeah, I-
lease vehicle, that's enough.
Yeah, I just
you
don't
think-
want you to be under the impression you're getting 2 frontline vehicles. You're not. He's going to trade, he's going to take a vehicle and then he's going to pass it down.
Yep.
I don't know the age on it, but I don't know that it's more than 2 or 3 years in terms of a
Okay.
admin car.
So what he what he sent me was the number 1 vehicle to be replaced was the patrol K9, and then this number 2 was the admin the Ford Explorer admin car.
Yeah,
So the K9 was number 1.
yeah,
That's being replaced. Number 2 would be the admin car.
right.
Yeah.
Well, I think the bottom line, I think there's certainly support to add a second car. And I think
Yes.
also taking the non-CDL dump truck, putting it in ARPA, reducing that amount. I'm going to let Rob give us the specific numbers, but we would leave 1 car in there for the police, reduce it by whatever that amount is. And what, is everyone okay with that?
Yeah.
Yep.
Just
Yeah, go ahead.
so according to the chief's figures, the second car that he was looking at was 56,000, not 64,000. So that's even less.
Even better.
Yeah, so it's even better.
It's,
Yeah, my only concern is I think here's what I think we did, which was 192 divided by 3. And you come
Yep.
up with a base price of 64.
64,
So the
yeah.
admin may be 56, but if it's going to be a K9, I think there's more outfitting in a
Right.
K9.
He came up with 65 for K9 because he
K9
can
for
strip out of the old,
He can,
a lot of
okay.
stuff can be
All right.
stripped.
Then I guess he's going to make it work.
yeah, I'm fine leaving 65, and then we'll we'll reduce the capital by the difference between the 178,690 and the 65,000. Does that make sense, Rob?
65 or 64?
64, I don't, yeah, 64 I'm fine with. I mean, it's,
Yep.
you know, we're
So
talking
the-
about
So it would be a
$1,000.
total reduction of $114,690. And that would be off of the 500? Rob?
No.
I'm trying to get the,
So, so if
can
you're, if you're looking at just the CIP for the town side, which
Yep.
right now is proposed at $1,126,432.
And that's on page 2 of section
Well,
12.
12-2, and you're reducing it by 178,690 for the truck because you're moving it to ARPA. And then you're adding 64 back in, correct?
Yes.
right.
Okay. So then the bottom line would be
No.
1,011,742.
Right, but then he also has reductions of unassigned fund balance and town CIP fund balance.
And those will change based on this bottom line amount. So the 500 is still approved from Department 840 that was approved before from the general fund.
So Ben,
So-
you have a comment?
I do. So that number is not correct. You would be adding in 56.
You want to add 50, I mean, you
Well,
know
that's
which
what
number to
we're-
add in.
yeah, I-
That's what the chief sent, it was 56 for the second car.
Yeah,
That he was
I mean, I
looking
know we're spending way too much time talking about 1,000 or here or there,
So
but
we're gonna deduct 178,690
Yes.
and then add in 56.
So it's 122,690? Reduction? Of,
Yeah, so the bottom line budget would be 1,003,742,
okay.
which is a reduction of, 1 second, just to verify,
Minus 122.
122,690.
So 1,003,742.
That's correct.
Okay.
so can I make a suggestion? We have, I think we're all set with what we're doing with capital, correct?
Yes.
Is everyone on the same page? If you're not, please say I'm not, so we can explain it again, make sure we're all on the same page. Because what I would suggest is to, we've got the Board of Education side as well on page, I think that's on page 5 of section 12, correct? We also have to
Yes.
approve that. What I would like to do is just, if we could go to the last item we have to deal with is Robertson Airport, approve that, take a recess, let Rob rework the capital numbers, just so we're all on the same page. And then the bottom,
Already done, but okay.
and what would the bottom line numbers be then? Or is that already done?
Well,
as well?
I mean, it's two separate, remember, CIP consists of two separate budgets,
Yep.
town and then board. So the two
Yeah.
numbers together would be the total CIP.
Yep.
And then we associate the revenues, against the total.
All right, well, if,
Allocate them separately between the budgets.
Okay.
And the
whatever.
revenue hasn't changed at all, right? It's still 886.
What's going to happen is that in this scenario, the unassigned fund balance use will be reduced by that 122,690.
Okay. Okay.
all right, so can you just give us the numbers we have to vote on once
Got it.
again?
So town capital fund, town CIP,
Yep,
bottom line is 1,003,742.
Yep.
okay.
There we go.
Did you want to do Robertson Airport right now?
No, let's finish this. I think it's important we get this one behind us. Just to,
Just putting them into.
yeah. So if someone wants to make a motion?
Sure, I will.
Okay,
Yeah, motion to approve the town capital improvement project fund in the amount of $1,003,742.
Second.
second. That's the correct number. Everybody's good? Nodding, that's good. Any comments or questions? I mean, we could beat this thing a little more. It's not dead yet, if you want. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Whew, that feels good. All right, so the next one, the Board of Ed,
Right, it's on
Piece.
12-5 is currently proposed at 396.2.
okay, so any comments or questions regarding proposed capital items for the Board of Education? All right, anyone?
Mr. Chair,
Yes,
motion to approve the Board of Education Capital Reserve Fund in the amount of $396,200.
We have a motion, and anyone can second it.
Second.
Don't have to, but
Sorry, I was reading.
no, that's okay. All right, any other questions, comments regarding the Board of Ed side of the Capitol? All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? All right, that has been approved. And then, what's the last, do we have one more,
13.
Yeah, it's just the Robertson Airport
and
budget.
that would be on
that-
13 and 14?
Yeah, it's
like
just the,
Councilman Tompkins said?
it's
Yep.
kind of a, yeah, it's kind of like a rubber stamp.
Okay. And again, this is just, we approve like the revenue side or the airport fund and then.
Yeah,
we
same,
approve the-
same concept as the other out
Okay.
funds, yeah. There's no general fund allocation to this fund
Yep.
whatsoever.
Okay.
But very similar to the sewer fund.
All right, so a motion on the Robertson Airport Fund.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Motion to approve the Robertson Airport Fund in the amount of $184,126.
And again,
Oh, second.
someone can say second. It's okay. Do you have a question?
No.
Okay. Any questions, comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? All right, if we turn to page 14,
That was in
That was-
on
yeah, that was.
14.
Yeah, she did 14.
oh, I'm sorry.
I did 14, so
Okay.
you want me to do 13?
Is that why you were pointing at me?
Yeah.
Thank you
thinking
for
for-
trying to help me, and if next
I
time
was
I'll
just
pay
trying to help
attention.
myself.
All right, the next one.
Going back.
Go ahead, Councilwoman Tompkins.
Okay, motion to approve the Robertson Airport revenue in the amount of $154,000.
Second.
All right, a motion and a second. Any comments or questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Thank you for hanging in there, everyone. Now, I believe the only thing left is to vote on the town side, the board side, and the bottom line. Do you need a few minutes?
Nope, I'm good to go.
All right, someone get ready to write numbers down.
Am I right?
Oh, boy.
Okay.
Okay, ready?
No.
Which first?
Okay, so the bottom line town general government budget is 26,709,340, which is an increase of $1,710,450 or 6.84%. Board of Education bottom line budget, $45,277,488. It's an increase of $2,205,691 or 5.12%. And the overall town budget, as proposed, is $71,986,828, which is an increase of $3,916,141 or 5.75%.
All right. Okay, so anyone care to make a motion on the town side?
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
I move that we approve the general government budget for a total of $26,709,340.
Second.
All right, any questions or comments on that? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. How about the board side?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
motion to accept the Board of Education budget in the amount of $45,277,488.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any comments or questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. And then the bottom line total. And yes, go ahead.
I move that we approve the total government, total budget for $71,986,828.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Could we just have, what would the resulting mill increase if revenues don't change between now and the end of?
Right, so you hit it right on the head. Right now, revenues are still in play, obviously, because the state is still in session. We hope to know more or maybe no changes at all between now and then. However, at this point in time, with the state of Connecticut cap on motor vehicles, the motor vehicle mill rate would be 32.46. The real estate and personal property mill rate would be 32.83. And if there was no motor vehicle cap by the state, and we just had one mill rate, the blended mill rate would be 32.79, which is an increase over this year's mill rate of 1.37 mils, or 4.35%. Just remember, it's still an estimate because revenues are still in play, or could still be in play.
Wasn't that the number before we made the capital changes?
Yes, again, the capital changes didn't affect the mill rate because the revenue side of that was already, the 500,000 was already budgeted. It didn't, it's just the revenue of how we're
Gotcha.
funding those sources. Yep.
All right, and the mill rate, we won't set the mill rate till towards the end of May
Correct,
in order to get tax bills.
correct. So
that-
we have a couple months before the session
Yep.
is over. Yeah.
So
yeah,
this is
and then-
what
right.
we're doing tonight, is strictly on the expenditure side.
Expenditure side only, correct.
Took me a minute, but I got there.
All right, any other comments or questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. I apologize for going way past 6:45, but I think it was something that we needed to get through. Thank you, everyone, for your help with the budget. Thank you, council members, for putting in the hours. Obviously, staff, thank you for your support and helping us answer a lot of questions.
You're welcome.
What I'd like to do is call for a motion to adjourn, or motion to adjourn, and then a motion to go into executive session.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
Motion to adjourn?
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
So we're adjourned from the work session. I'll call the special meeting to order. I'll ask for a motion to go into executive session, and if anyone needs like 5
So
minutes.
moved.
5 minutes, we'll reconvene in the back in 5 minutes or so. We have a motion.
Second.
So moved.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right. We're in executive session.